let's talk about something that's quietly changing our world. What happens when artificial intelligence starts to understand our feelings? And more importantly, what happens when it does that in a place where we are at our most vulnerable, in healthcare?
I mean, really think about that for a second. This isn't science fiction anymore. AI is stepping into some of the most personal parts of our lives, like our mental health and medical care, and it's learning to react to how we feel. And that, as you can imagine, brings up some massive questions about trust, empathy, and who or what is really in control.
So, to really get a handle on the stakes here, let's first dig into what these new AI systems can actually do and why hospitals and clinics are so excited to bring them on board.
Okay, so the core technology that makes this all tick is a field known as affective computing. Now, this isn't just about an AI spotting keywords like sad or happy. Nope. We're talking about really advanced systems that can analyze the tiny nuances in your texts, the tone of your voice, maybe even your facial expressions, all to build this incredibly detailed picture of your emotional state. It's the engine making all of this emotionally aware AI possible. And this stuff isn't just theory, it's already out there right now. You've probably heard of mental health chatbots, offering support 24/7 when you can't get a hold of a human therapist. Inside clinics, AI assistants are helping to triage patients, figuring out who needs to be seen first. There are even therapy apps with prompts that adapt and change based on your emotional feedback. And of course, behind the scenes, AI is chewing through mountains of paperwork, which, in theory, frees up human staff to focus more on you, the patient.
So, what's the big rush? Well, you can see the appeal, right? It's undeniable. AI offers something that our current healthcare system really struggles with, and that's scale. It can give immediate, around the clock help to millions of people for way less than what human led care costs. It's trying to fill some very real gaps in access and affordability. But as we're about to find out, that convenience, it comes with some pretty serious trade offs.
And that convenience raises a huge question. It brings us to this really crucial difference: the gap between an AI that can act empathetic and a human who can actually feel empathy.
You see, in AI's empathy, it's all based on pattern matching. It scanned millions of human conversations to learn what a supportive response is supposed to look like. It can have the perfect tone, be endlessly affirming, and that can feel really good. But it has zero lived experience. It has never felt heartbreak or joy or grief, and this is the big one, it has no actual ethical responsibility to you. A human therapist, on the other hand, they draw on their own life, they make complex judgments, and they are legally and ethically required to protect your privacy.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract worry. Experts in the field are sounding the alarm. They're basically saying, look, AI can be a helpful tool, but it is no substitute for the clinical judgment and ethical oversight that are the absolute foundation of good mental health care. This sentence really says it all. A human therapist has a legal and ethical duty to keep your secrets. What you say in that room stays in that room. An AI, though, it doesn't have secrets. It has data. It processes and stores your most private emotional thoughts, creating this enormous privacy risk that just does not exist with a human. So what happens when things go wrong? Because, eventually they will. And that brings up a really thorny question. Who is actually responsible? This is what's known as the accountability gap. Just think about it for a minute. If a chatbot gives a vulnerable person truly dangerous advice, who do you blame? The user who trusted it? The doctor who recommended the app? The hospital that uses the system? The programmer who wrote the code? This is genuinely one of the biggest, most tangled ethical problems in AI today. The chain of responsibility is it's a mess. It's completely unclear where the buck is supposed to stop. Every person in that chain can just point their finger at someone else, leaving the person who is actually harmed with absolutely nowhere to turn. And that legal and ethical black hole is a massive problem as these systems get more and more powerful. And beyond just who to blame, there's a deeper, maybe even creepier concern that experts call a subtle ceding of control. See, the more we lean on AI for advice and for emotional support, the more we're essentially outsourcing our own ability to make decisions. And over time, that convenience can actually wear away at our personal agency, our power to think for ourselves and choose our own path. Okay, now let's talk about the fuel for this whole industry: our feelings. We need to look at how our emotions are literally being turned into data, and how lawmakers are scrambling to figure out how to regulate this wild, new, and incredibly personal resource. So what exactly is emotional data? Well, it's the process of taking your complex, messy human experiences, your joy, your anxiety, your grief, and kind of flattening them into neat little data points that an algorithm can read. And the key thing to remember is that in that translation from human feeling to computer data, a huge amount of context and meaning just gets lost.
Now, some regulations, like Europe's GDPR, are trying to put up some guardrails. For example, the purpose limitation rule means the data from your therapy chat can't suddenly be used to target you with ads when you're feeling down. Data minimization says companies should only collect the info they absolutely need, nothing more. And transparency means they have to tell you in plain language when and how your emotions are being analyzed. These are great ideas, but actually enforcing them is a whole other challenge.
Here in the US, the situation is, well, it's a lot messier. Looking at data from the Manet Health AI policy tracker, you can see that while states are passing laws, they're creating this confusing patchwork of different rules. Some laws focus on chatbots, others on clinical care, and the result is this really inconsistent system that's hard for anyone to make sense of. And these risks, they are very, very real. We are not in the realm of what if anymore. We know healthcare data breaches are incredibly expensive. We recently saw sensitive AI conversations from Meta accidentally get leaked to a public feed. And there's always the looming danger that these detailed emotional profiles of us could be used for manipulation, whether it's by advertisers or political campaigns. All of this brings us to a kind of crossroads. The decisions we make right now, as individuals, as companies, as societies, are going to define the kind of technological future we end up living in. And there are really two very different paths ahead of us. In one, the positive future, AI is a tool. It helps human caregivers, it makes healthcare more accessible, but humans always, always have the final say. Then there's the other path, a more concerning one, where AI replaces human judgment, where opaque, profit-hungry systems make critical decisions about our health and our own dignity and autonomy slowly get chipped away. So if there's one core takeaway from all of this, it's this. AI has amazing potential to be a supportive tool in healthcare. It can do the paperwork, offer that first line of support, and expand access to care in incredible ways. But, and this is the important part, it cannot replace the core of human care. It can't replace lived experience, emotional depth, context, and the ethical responsibility that flows between two human beings. Which leaves us with one final, and I think vital question that we all have to ask ourselves. As this technology gets woven deeper and deeper into our lives, we have to decide just how much of our inner, emotional world are we actually willing to hand over to the machines? The answer to that is going to define the future of care.